This Equipment World video is brought to you by Chevron Delo 600 ADF Ultra Low Ash Diesel Engine Oil. It's time to kick some ash. Hi everyone, welcome back to Equipment World. You're watching The Dirt. I'm your host Brian, and today I wanted to talk about a nice piece of software that I randomly stumbled across that has been an absolute game changer when it comes to bidding residential work. It's going to work on commercial work as well, but where we've been using it is on the residential side because my buddy and I have a relatively small company. We're not doing the big civil jobs, so we needed a piece of software to help us with our estimating on material quantities without breaking the bank. And that's where this piece of software we're going to talk about today comes in. We are looking at Kubla Cubed. It is a piece of software that was actually recommended to me from a friend, and we have absolutely loved it now that we've gotten familiar with the software. So let's flip over to the software and let me show you what this software does, where it really shines, and how it works. But before we get into that, I want to take a second to tell you about the sponsor of this video, Chevron Lubricants. Protecting your diesel engine and its exhaust aftertreatment system has traditionally been seen as an either-or proposition when it comes to choosing the engine oil that's going to protect your system. And that's exactly why Chevron spent more than a decade of R&D work developing a no-compromise formulation. Now, I don't have to tell you why a clogged DPF is bad news, but here's the real kick in the pants. 90% of that ash clogging up your DPF and then upping your fuel and maintenance costs, it comes from your engine oil. You might be thinking, why don't they make an engine oil with less ash in it then? You'll be happy to learn that Chevron agrees with you. They've developed a new ultra-low ash diesel engine oil that is specifically designed to combat DPF ash clogging. Delo 600 ADF with OmniMax technology cuts sulfate ash by 60%, radically reducing the rate of DPF clogging and extending the DPF service life by 2.5 times. Before you had to choose between protecting your engine or your aftertreatment system. Now you don't. Delo 600 ADF with OmniMax technology. It's time to kick some ash. Okay, so looking at the software here, I've actually already imported a print and I've already set the contour lines for this print so that we can see the capabilities of the software. I don't want to dive too far down into how to actually use the software because first of all, there's already videos online that show you all of that. And secondly, I think that's going to get too down in the weeds and I don't want to make this an extremely lengthy video that's just teaching you how to use a piece of software. However, that being said, what I do want to do today is show you guys the power of this software when it comes to bidding jobs. So this particular job, if we look here, it looks like a relatively straightforward print. You do have some pretty close together contour marks here, which most people are familiar with reading prints. That means that there's pretty steep drop off in the grade. We walked this site before we actually bid the job, and we had taken a couple measurements with the laser, but we still wanted to be a little more certain as to how much material was going to come off the site to jive with the plan here that we have. That's where this piece of software comes in. So what we do in this software, let me zoom in here, is we actually use tools and we trace these contour lines with the tools. That sounds like it takes forever. On this particular print, you can see all of the contour lines that I had to trace here that run across the print. It took me probably 5, maybe 7 minutes to actually trace the print. It really didn't take that long. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to actually visualize the site. If I go to my 3D orbit view here, now we can see this is the cul-de-sac here, this is the back of the lot, and we have a nice visual of the contours of the property. And I can tell you from walking this property, this is 100% accurate to the contours of the property. Now, that's really neat, but it doesn't help us from an estimating standpoint. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move over here to our finish grade tab. What this is I have now gone and I've traced the as-built or the 2B, what am I looking for here? The actual contours of the job after all of the material moving is done, the finished contours. I've traced these on this layer. And so now what we have, if we go into our 3D view, is you can see that we have to cut in a pretty big bowl here. There's actually going to be a retaining wall here, but we actually sloped this using our contours so that we could account for the material that we were actually going to leave on site. So you've got a nice bowl shape that's hollowed out for the house. And then we actually use contours for the house pad. So you can see the flat house pad kind of here in the middle. And then this is the drive and everything going down to the road. And it's really nice and handy to be able to move this around and look at it from different angles. But what's really powerful about this software is this portion right up in here. This is what's going to show us on this job site. We have a cut volume of 4,400 yards and a fill volume of roughly 43 yards. Obviously, we're just talking about the little outliers here. That's going to be fudgeable. I don't think 43 is really the true fill volume. However, if we had a true site that had a fill portion and a cut portion, this software would automatically calculate where those cuts and fills are going to be. Now, this is for the land balance. Now I've created another tab, and using another tool, you're going to notice that we only have our basement contoured out here. And if I go into my 3D view, you'll see that only the basement is hollowed out. Let me zoom in here so that we can get a little closer. My basement is hollowed out. We have an additional 946 yards of material that are going to have to be pulled out for the basement. Using this software, we can visually verify that everything is the way it's supposed to be. But then this software is doing all of our calculations for our material removal and balance. That's critical because I can tell you right now, like I said, we went out on the job site. We actually took shots on the job site of this residential lot. And according to our calculations, we only had about 3,300 yards that were going to come off, just off of some initial calculations. But we knew that probably wasn't the most accurate number, which is why we reached out to my friend and found this software. Once we put it in, if we go back to our finish grade, or our land balance tab is probably what I should have called it, you can see we're actually over 1,000 yards more than that is what's materially going to have to come off of the site. Right there, this software paid for itself. That brings me to another aspect of this software that I really like. This software was not that expensive. So let me flip over to my web browser here. So now that we're in our web browser, you can see the pricing on Kubla Cubed, and this is what really sold it for me. For $295, it gives you a full year with the software so that you can try it out and you can figure out if it's going to work to your liking. And at the end of the day, that's only $300. And right here on this single lot, Rick and I, my friend who owns the company, were able to save easily this much money in trucking and excavation costs and time and fuel. This has more than paid for itself in one job. We've already decided for us that it's going to work. It's going to be a win. We're going for it. For $737, you get a perpetual license, which means you own the software. There is no annual subscription. You own the software. You're entitled to updates. It never expires. This is such a great tool, and it is so attainable, especially for smaller contractors like my friend and I. We can't afford to go out and spend $5,000 on a piece of software that's going to interface with a drone that's actually going to go out and take snapshots of the job site. And that's where you do have to recognize with this software, plugging in the contour lines is time consuming and tedious. You are going to have some sort of a plot map for the property that you're going to do in order for this software to work. You're also going to have some finished prints that you can work off of so that you can translate those into the software. But assuming you're a contractor that has access to these things, this is a $300 piece of software that can easily do all of your calculations for you. You can turn around and plug those numbers into your bid sheets. You can do all of your calculations to figure out what your bid needs to be, and you know that you're going to be very, very accurate on that bid. I can't express enough how helpful this piece of software is for only $300. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. I know this isn't the most riveting, exciting topic, but at the same time, this has been such a game changer for my friend and I wanted to share it with you guys, make more of you guys aware that even if you are a smaller contractor, you don't have to step into the ultra expensive software in order to get some of the results that these larger companies are getting when it comes to doing some of their pre-bid research. This is a great tool. It's very affordable, and it's an absolute game changer for smaller contractors. So with that being said, absolutely drop any comments or questions down below, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of The Dirt.